Welcome back to the Tokyo Fresh podcast. My name is David. I'm here with Jordan.
What up?
And we are here today with another special guest.
We did it.
2 weeks in a row.
We did it.
We're here with Joe, who is a vector artist. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it still feels like it's this inner conflict where I still feel incredibly disingenuous saying that I'm an artist or illustrator or anything like that. So everyone's like, "What do you do?" I'm just there like, "I just make shapes." And they turn into other things.
Yeah.
Like, it's like this. I don't know, man. It's this personality thing that I have. It's difficult for me. But yeah, artist, illustrator, designer. I guess like people can take their pick from those three.
Okay. Just 1 second here, because I think we're actually getting feedback from Joe. So I'm gonna turn down Discord a little bit. It's fine. We're only 5 seconds in. No one's ears are gonna bleed. Let's bring it down.
Is that a challenge?
No, that's Jordan's job.
We had a rule.
Don't deafen.
Don't deafen the listeners. That was the one rule we made on the podcast when we started like a year and a bit ago.
That's a pretty good rule to stand by, to be honest.
Right? I thought so as well. Like, as long as the listeners have both their eardrums, or at least one eardrum working.
Right.
They can listen in.
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
And I was going to say, like, if I knew sign language or could subtitle everything, it would be great, but we can just instead be cautious about the condition of people's ears.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to listen. I'm out here still trying to learn Japanese. I'm not about to attempt.
Oh no.
I'm not about to attempt.
Now I got Discord with the thing up. Ugh.
There we go.
What a mess. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm not about to attempt learning sign language. I'm still trying to like crack out Japanese, you know? Dude, Joe, how are you though? Because Joe's up in Hokkaido actually in Japan. So we actually came at the same time. We're in the same, what do you call it? The interview
group?
Yeah.
The interview that wasn't an interview.
Joe, how bullshit was that?
It was one of the strangest experiences I've ever had. Just sitting in this massive room where it's supposed to be an interview, but they're talking to you as if you're already going there.
Yes.
And then it wasn't even like a character thing.
No.
Seeing what you like. It's basically like, what do you think Japan's like?
Yeah.
And it some elderly woman who doesn't live in Japan.
Yep.
So it seemed like very misinformed on her part as well. It was super strange.
It was really fun. So like for background, for those who don't know, we all started with we called it the company, but by this stage everyone knows what the company is.
Probably. I would assume so by now. I would hope so.
Yeah, by now I hope you guys have sussed it out. But we all came with Interac. How many years ago? Fucking hell, four?
Four, yeah.
Bloody hell, 4 fucking years ago. So we came 4 years ago to Interact. And the reason I came via Interact was because it was like the easiest way to get to Japan.
100%. And like, so the thing is, I'm still with Interact now, but I'm only with them because it affords me the like means and time to still continue doing art as a side project. And I'm leaving in March, so my contract ends in like a month, and then I'll finally be done with them. But I will also be going back to England, which is very bittersweet. Very bittersweet.
England. Why?
But my girlfriend got the YMS visa, the like super lucky raffle one, which is it's too good of an opportunity to pass up. Like,
holy shit.
We'd considered our opportunities before, like what we could potentially do, and the idea of getting a visa without YMS is impossible. I don't know if you know the route to get there, but basically you need like £72,000 in saving.
Oh my god. 72,000? What?
Or I would have to move over like back to England a year before her, get a job that pays like 18,000 a year, which is very doable, like entry level wage.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go back and do a master's, so I wouldn't be in a position to get a job, and I wouldn't want to do long distance for a year as well. So the opportunity presented itself with this YMS visa thing. It's like a raffle system. It was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So
it is
go back
right.
2 years. Don't know what the hell we're going to do after that. It's a conversation that we'll have when we get there. But it's like, hopefully I can. I'm just sick of teaching as well. Jesus Christ, like.
I'm there with you.
That was me a little while ago. Like, I was so sick of teaching, dipped out.
I'm still sick of teaching.
David, but it's so... Guys, But when you go into the
It's so
classroom,
rewarding.
that's what I was
Change
supposed to
those
say.
children's lives. Enrich through education, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my god, just shut up.
Enrich
Just
my
leave
bank
it out,
account
man.
more, please. That would be nice.
Exactly. It's like I can enrich these kids once you enrich my wallet a little bit more.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
Quid-
I mean,
quid pro
literally,
quo.
yeah. Like, I could if you provided me with the wage that I could actually use stuff to bring into the classroom, right? Like, it's
And the fact that they absolutely do not subsidize any kind of materials or anything.
Oh, God,
They
no.
like so there's it feels like there's zero assistance from them, and like we were saying that the problem is they know there's just going to be a revolving door of weebs
Yes.
who are desperate to come to Japan, and they know that they've got them. But this year's a little bit different because of the corona situation. They can't get people from overseas, so they're desperately trying to get people in from Japan, and then it's like they have the disgruntled current employees
Yep.
who are currently on a lower wage when they're offering newbies a higher wage.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's absolutely, I don't know, it just seems like everything they do is going to disgruntle people left, right, and center.
The funny thing is, like, I know that the branch I was in was pretty bad. There was like this weird thing of like managers with weird power complexes, and they were like, "Oh, I'm the manager, so I have."
That sounds very Japanese.
Yeah. Oh, they were all foreigners though.
Oh, I mean, but even like it sounds like part of the course with like Japanese companies as well. It's
Yeah,
just-
yeah, very much so. It's bad. How is it up in Sapporo? Is Sapporo one big branch?
Yeah. So even so, it's actually Interact North. So basically,
Okay, so
we
it's
cover
technically
the whole
not even the same
Hokkaido.
company then, right? 'Cause,
Holy
like,
shit!
they've
Yeah. And then it's like
broken it out.
Morioka, Aomori, everything like that. But the management side of it is like a couple of years ago or like a year ago, there was a bit of an issue where, I mean, so people up here are unionizing, which is a great thing. And people
Good.
are putting pressure on Interac.
Wow.
And there's like a small group, especially who are kind of leading the charge. But I think some of the upper management got a bit sick of it because they couldn't be bothered to deal with it. And now our office is just a revolving door of employees. Like people are coming in and out every other week, it seems. And it's
Every
like they
week?
probably leave once they realize how overworked and underpaid they are, because even the office staff don't really get a fair swing of it sometimes. But
No.
the other
No,
problem is
like the
that-
office staff is kind of, they're just like, they're stuck doing the same job just in a different place, right? It's like we're going to the school to teach kids, but then they're having to deal with all of our shit. So really, it's like it's not that much of a different situation. The only difference is that they're not teaching kids; they're having to wrangle everyone else's bullshit. And knowing some of the people that I know that work at the company, I don't know I don't know what's worse. The kids
having to deal with some of those people.
Yeah.
No thanks.
I remember when I was at the interview in London, the one that me and Joe were at. I remember getting there and thinking to myself, like, one, this isn't a real interview. Like, these people literally just asking me, like, one of the questions was literally like, have you ever been to Japan? And I was like, yeah, I studied there. She was like, wow, that must have been amazing. And I was like, yeah, I was like,
Why
Did
are you
know that it's
patronizing me?
amazing?
Yeah.
What?
literally, it's like, bitch, I kind of want this job, so I won't slap you.
And it was, you have to. I kind of went in and it was very much realizing that the situation we were put in was very weird. But I'm there like, I'm not going to risk it. I want to get over there, so I'm just going to play it cool, play it safe,
Same.
and do my best. But the other problem as well with Sapporo is that the BOE, like the Board of Education up here, just hates ALTs. It doesn't see the need in them, and like they just absolutely do not value us. So
No way.
that's really cool. And for some part of it, I kind of agree with them, because like the role of an ALT at the moment, as it is in its current iteration, isn't effective. Like we're literally there to be cultural ambassadors, as they say, and that's about it. It's like, here's a foreigner in your classroom, get used to them. That's the world, and it's like not good enough.
Even I would say even here too, right? Like I think that we in like the Kanto area, they're a little bit more open to ALTs, but I think that's mostly because, Tokyo's right next door, so they're like, oh, you're gonna meet foreigners because what is it like?
Yeah,
we're 1% of the population, but live like 99% of us live in 3 spots: Kyoto, Osaka, or Tokyo.
Young Tokes, yeah.
So yeah, but like even me, like I just feel as an ALT that a lot of the time you're you're just castrated, right? Like you can't do anything. You have no power. You can't discipline kids. You don't get to choose what you're teaching. You don't change the curriculum. Like nothing. Just absolutely nothing. So you're just kind of there.
I feel very much just like a game master, and that's it.
Oh
like,
fuck!
What's the point?
If I have to make another fucking game, I'll go insane.
Grammar? Yeah, it's like, what's the point in me attempting to teach grammar when like I have to be up there and essentially be a clown to try and teach them this simple 3-word thing, when the JTE can do it in 3 seconds because he can be like, hey, this is like the Japanese equivalent to it. Now you understand it better. So I'm just there to run activities and sod all else, to be honest.
Yeah.
When I was teaching elementary school, I went from junior high school elementary to just elementary. And when I was just elementary, like none of the teachers knew what they were doing. Like none of them really cared. So it was to the extent where they were like, hey, Jordan, do you want to just like have all the power and do whatever you want? And I was like, guys, that sounds amazing. Here's what we'll do. Everyone will fuck off and leave me alone. I'll do whatever I want. And that'll be it. How's that? And everyone was like, fantastic.
Excellent.
Fantastic. And that was it. So the only time the teachers would actually help out was if they generally were interested in English. And there were some teachers like that, and that was fun. Or if the Board of Education was there to like watch the class. And then one time, this fucking kid. So I'm teaching these kids for like 2 years now, or however long it was. Then this one time, the Board of Education comes in. You know, they swan up to the classroom. Oh, we're here to watch your lesson. Hey, guys. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm standing at the front. I'm like, hi, guys. Morning, you know, lesson, blah, 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 blah. This one kid looks behind, sees all the teachers, looks in front at his teacher. I forgot what his teacher's called. I'm going to call her Fujimoto, whatever. He looks at the back of the kids, at the BOE, looks at the JET, and he's like, Jordan Sensei, why the hell is the JET standing there? She's normally at the back, right? Why is she there today? She's normally... He said it 3 times, and I'm there like, shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm like, read the fucking room. Like, read the room, dude.
It's like, okay, so next lesson after the BOE leaves, we're going to learn how to read the room. Understand cues, social cues. And that's the thing is, I think in the 4 years I've been here, I actually don't think that the BOE has visited my class once.
They visited me the first year, and then I have not seen them ever again.
Oh, they were probably just there like, he's alright, we don't need to bother him anymore.
Yeah, probably.
Good. Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. I was the greatest English teacher for elementary school in Kanagawa, so I would have the Board of Education constantly coming to my lessons, stealing my games, putting them in the textbooks, and then like having other crappy AOTs come to watch me teach. And they're like, oh, wow, Jordan, where did you find that game? I'm like, I made it up. Could you tell us the rules again? No. Get the fuck out of my school. Yourself. We had a ranking in the school. So go on.
Yeah, there was only one time where I had so my JT was like, hey, I've got to run this class for like a bunch of jets and stuff, and I was like, okay. But
Ew.
And she was like, can you come to the class and like give me some assistance and stuff? And I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And so it was at 5th period, and 5th period always started at like, I don't know, 1:45 or something. They neglected to tell me that the lesson started 10 minutes earlier. So I just rocked up like 10 minutes late into the class, and everyone's looking at me like, where have you been? I'm there like, I was eating lunch. What do you mean? Like,
dude, that happens like, all the fucking time in school. Like, they just expect you to know shit that everyone else knows, but like, it's the amount of times I thank God that I can read Japanese, because you know how like at the front of in the teacher's room they have that big ass whiteboard of like what's going on that month.
Yeah, I spent most of my time like squinting at it, trying my best to read it.
So like I can actually read it. So like the amount of times that like I've looked at it and been like, oh, today is a short day and there's no like 5th period because reasons, and you know, like, but no one, not even a single word comes up to me. They just assume I know. So like if I was anyone else and I couldn't read, they'd be fucked.
There was this one time where like the school had no lunch that day, so I was cool with it. But it's elementary school.
The exact same thing,
right? Dude, I'm in like 3 different schools, and it's not like 1 week one school, 1 week another school. It's like Monday this school, Tuesday that school, Wednesday that. It's like every day changes. So there's one of the school just doesn't have lunch. Now it's elementary, so there's no lunch. I don't eat, basically. So I come to the school, I'm sitting down, lunchtime comes around, and this one I had this really bitchy Eigo Tanto. It's the worst human in the world. Awful. Fucking
I think I remember your tweets about this woman.
Yeah,
Person. I can't remember gender.
wench. This absolute fucking wench. Everyone hated her. She was the worst. She ruined the entire system. In that school, particularly, we'd set up this system where I have all the power and no one else gets any. And for some reason, God knows why, she wanted some of that power. David, not
How dare she?
how fucking dare she? I spent time stealing that power. It was mine. And then she came and like, oh, this is actually my job. I'm like, ugh, selfish. What's wrong with you? So
Get out of
there
there.
was no lunch one day. It just comes up to my desk and she's like, Jordan, today there's no lunch. And I'm like, can I go
I told
home
me
then?
that yesterday.
Can I go home? And she's like, you can go to the convenience store and buy lunch. I'm like, hold on. What's everyone else eating then if there's no lunch today? She's like, oh, we all ordered lunch. We all have bentos. So I'm like, so you want me to go to the commune, spend my own money when audio eating lunch provided by a different... Think about it. So she's like, oh, I'll ask the principal. Me and the principal bros, we drink together in secret. So she says to the principal, like, oh no, we forgot to tell Jordan there's no lunch. Principal's pissed. He's like, that's my boy. We need to feed him. What are you doing?
Pull out all the stops.
No,
They
dude.
come out with like a silver platter and like the lid that they take off, and it's like a lobster thermidor or something. You cannot let Jordan go unfed. But I had the same thing as well, and I was like, I sat there, and lunch ended, and everyone like pulls out their own stuff, and I'm like, so I suppose we're not having lunch today. And then a teacher comes up and they're like, oh, we're not having lunch today. And they're like, yeah, it's like an hour after lunch. You probably should have told me at this time yesterday so I could have prepared ahead of time.
Holy shit. Yep.
So I was there like, okay, I'm going home. Like, I have no classes. I was like, I need to eat. I'm going. And they're like, oh, but okay. And I was like,
Yep.
just waving on the way out. Like, I'm
Yep.
not doing this, man. Like, and
Yeah,
it's like, the thing is,
Don't waste your time on
yeah.
yeah, it's like why would I even bother? Because like clearly it's evident that you don't give a fuck. So why should I?
Honestly.
Yeah, and that's the truth of it, is like, for the most part we are treated as if we're not part of that staff room. Like we are. It's like there's a staff room, and then we're on the side of it. And I'm glad that I don't have to sit through teachers' meetings, because I wouldn't understand most of it, for one, and two, boring Japanese meetings are the worst on earth.
Yeah.
So it's like, but if they expect that of us, like not to be present in meetings, then we're not proper staff, really. We're not worth knowing that information. So
Right.
if we're not treated that way, then we shouldn't have to
honestly.
properly act like that. Which is why the first 2 years I was in Sapporo, we were on, what is it, like Gyomu Itaku contracts?
Yeah,
or
the
something,
okay.
where I could just leave at lunch, and it was the best thing ever. Like 1:35 every day, I'll be there. Like, I'm out of this. See you later. And then 2 years after that, they changed the hacking contracts, where we have to stay until we have like the allotted time that we have.
You're
to
basically
stay.
like a salaried employee, right?
Yeah.
Except without the salary.
And the benefits.
That is actually what caused a lot of the problems with the Sapporo office, because we were getting the same amount of pay, and even though we were contracted originally for 29.5 hours, the reality of the situation is we didn't have to work those hours.
Yeah.
So then it comes to hacking. We're getting paid the same amounts, in some cases less, for more work and more time sat at our desks. And the upper management were like, that's not how it is. You had to work that same amount before. And we're like, yes, but we didn't. You're just being like willfully ignorant to our actual working conditions beforehand. And we did have a really cushy situation before, but when it changes like that, we're going to want some kind of not compensation, but we want like money to reflect the changes in
all of a
our
sudden
work
when
system.
you have a situation where it's like you go from, okay, I worked this amount of time and then I go home, to now you have to sit at your desk. The amount of times I've had to sit at my desk for like 4 or 5 hours, and it's like, oh well, David, you should be working. It's like, doing what?
Yeah.
Because I have these periods every week of like 3 days where 4 to 5 hours I have nothing to do. It's like, okay, well, you should plan your next lessons. It's like, I have the entire year fucking finished already because you give me 4 hours a day.
Yeah. Same. I think,
and especially when we've been
do?
here as long as we have like lesson plans in abundance. Like they're spilling out my computer, man. Like I if someone tells me like you need to do this grammar point or this page, I'm like, I've got an activity for that because I've been here 3 fucking years already.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing to plan, but like thankfully for me, I have my laptop at work and I can like, to be honest, I literally just sit there and do art. And
good man.
It's like if I'm getting paid to desk warm, I may as well use my time
something.
effectively. And like last year, my principal was completely okay with that. He was there like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I do art," and he was really impressed by it. And he was like, "Wow, that's cool. Why are you a teacher?" And I'm there like, "Man, I don't know."
I don't fucking know.
He was a really cool guy, and then he left, and now it's just not the same, man.
I feel like in all schools there's always like one staff member or one person that really makes the school for you. In one school I was lucky, like all the staff members were really, really cool. We had like cook-offs and shit, me and this teacher. It was a very good place. Yeah, dude. This dude, he also baked. So one day there was like no lunch. They told me like a month in advance. Great school. So I bring in a bento, and this teacher who's next to me, he was like the 5th grade teacher. He brings in a bento. We open them up and I'm like, your bento is beautiful. I was like, did your wife make that? And he goes, Jordan, your bento is beautiful. Did your girlfriend make that? And I'm like, no, sir. I made this bento. And he's like, Jordan, I also made my own bento. Because Japanese men just don't
there
cook.
And then all of Japan's sexism was just eradicated.
Eradicated.
In that
Done.
beautiful moment.
It was
you
finished.
guys solved it.
It was it. So me and
A singular tear.
a singular tear by Abe.
Yeah.
He's like, I've done it. It's all been solved.
I can leave now.
I can leave now.
Put Suga in charge.
My job as a cultural ambassador is complete. I'm going back to my country with this victory behind me.
I'm done. That's what I had to do. So me and this teacher, like whenever there was like half days or days off, he'd be like, Jordan, in like 2 weeks, we have like a half day. Let's bake something together for the meetings we have in the afternoon. I'm like, sounds good. So he'd bake like something Japanese, like treats, and I'll bake like something more English. I made a pie once. It was very cool. And I brought it in and we all had like pie together and shit. Like, it's a really good school. And then you have the other schools where one teacher makes the school great and then they leave and you're like, I might as well be dead.
Why am I here?
Why am I here?
It's like I've been at the same school for 4 years now. I'm actually one of the I'm one of the longest serving teachers because I just couldn't be bothered to go to a new school and figure out like dynamics and relationships. And I also think for the most part, it's kind of detrimental to the kids learning if they have to get used to a new foreigner. Like, foreigners are difficult to get used to for them. But so it's just like every year I'm like, can I just stay at the same school? And I've always had like, so at this point now, I'm just part of the furniture. So it's like I'll just be there like, yo, I'm out. Catch you later. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. So it does have its pluses.
Yeah, I liked this thing I would do where I stopped caring after a while, and I realized that I was unfireable. So I was like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. So I just like went to Starbucks. That was in like a 50-minute walk away. It would come back with Starbucks. Like, oh hey guys. Then she'd be like, Jordan, did you go to Starbucks? I'm like, well, evidently, yeah. I'm drinking. The fuck? Yeah, of course I did. And like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, evidently I can because I did, and I will do the same thing tomorrow. In my hand.
Evidence right here.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is like, I started cycling to work a couple of years ago, which is the worst now because there's 5 months of snow and it's just the most depressing months ever. But they're like, oh, you're entitled to an hour-long break, and I'm there like, okay. I'm going to take that hour-long break now, and I'm just going to cycle around for an hour, just going to, go bust out a quick 20k.
That's good.
And then I'll come back to work, and they're like, I'll come back and I'm sweaty, and they're like, oh, what did you do? And I said, like, oh, I just had to go to the ATM and pay a bill or something.
Right.
You're like drenched in sweat.
And they're like, that took an hour, and they're like, oh, there was a really long queue. There was no.
You wouldn't believe everyone in Sapporo just had to do something at the ATM at that moment.
The two old men got into a bowing contest, and like they just would not get out of the way. Like it was whoever could bow lower. At one point, they were kissing their own asses. It was insane to watch. But listen, I had to stay to the end.
I did a tally of all of the sumimasen, and there was 14,000.
I was telling how many old women looked at me and went, "Ooh." On this train, it was also
and then refused
14
to stand near me,
and then refused to stand,
keeping their distance.
Yep.
I once spooked an old woman in the supermarket so badly I thought she was going to die. Like, I turned the corner to grab some milk. This woman was also turning the corner. Our eyes locked and she went, like, and I was like, what? Calm down. You're old.
And then you feel like you did something wrong. I once had a child look at me in 7-Eleven and burst into tears. That was cool.
What a power.
Man, that's great.
That's cool. Holy shit.
I don't like children either, so it was like a really powerful moment for me.
I was just like, yes.
Like, how can I harness this power and sell it to the masses?
And I'd go to Disneyland and just watch everyone break down. Like, just all of these children at Disneyland turn at me and start crying immediately on command. That would be the best. I want that superpower.
You're literally like the anti-Disney. You're supposed to be this land of wonder, and you just walk around 15-meter like area around you. Everyone just starts crying.
I would love that power. It'd be so good.
Yeah. It's like, well, everything was well and good at Disney until some white man with a beard made everyone cry.
You know that would make the news. Like, this just in: white man with a beard in Disneyland making the children cry. Could he be related to America? We'll find out next. Dun, dun, dun. We should have a news show.
They're like, white man with beard. Oh god, that's 80% of ALTs. Right.
They can't find who you are. They just start arresting white people with beards.
Yeah.
So basically, everyone
David will
who's
get
a man
arrested.
in this
David will
country.
take the fall for it.
Dude, I'd fully take the blame for that. I'd be like, listen, guys, it was me. Arrest me if you can. Start riding his bike away.
I don't know if it's the same in Tokyo. From what I've seen, they're not as bad, but the police in Sapporo are the biggest bunch of chuckle brothers I've ever seen. Hilarious. So my friend told me this story one time about there's a terrible club in Sapporo called Booty. Exceptional name.
Excellent.
What else, bro?
There was a guy who was really hammered outside of it, and a police officer like came up to him and was like, "Hey, calm down," basically. And the drunk guy pushed the police officer over. And then a bunch of other police officers run over. You're like, oh god, they're gonna go get that guy. No, they just sat next to the other police officer like, "Daijoubu desu ka?" Because he was sat there like on the floor holding his knee in pain.
Are you fucking serious?
They didn't give a crap about the drunk guy.
So they all had to have like a little powwow.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
Do you need a snack and some green tea? Are you okay?
They need to check up on their own before they arrest the drunken guy. So, it's ridiculous here, man.
All I'm hearing is that crime is easy to commit in Sapporo.
It's so easy.
Oh god,
so easy. I had a dead body outside my apartment, for fuck's sake.
Wait,
what?
What?
Yeah. So I don't know how long ago it was. I think it. One sec. Let me ask. Miho, how long ago was the dead body?
Let me just confirm.
How long the dead body was there.
So basically, there's outside our bedroom window, there's a car park, and across from the car park is like a hospital. So we're on one of the busiest streets in Sapporo. It's on like where the tram line is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so if you go straight on our tram line, it's right to Sapporo Station, like the center of the city. And there was a black car, like with kind of tinted windows, parked in one of the car park spaces, right at the back of the car park, away from the road. And it was parked a little like skew-if. And it was there for like 3 weeks, and my girlfriend was like, it's like creeping me out a little bit. And I was like, it's probably nothing. It's probably at the long stay hotel. Like, don't worry about it. And then he was there for another 3 weeks.
Oh.
And I was like,
yeah.
Little bit creepy. And then one day we looked outside and there was black shit leaking out the bottom of it. Like after a hot day. And my girlfriend was there like, you know what? This is not ideal. I'm going to call the police. So she called the local like Koban, and there was no response.
Wait,
she called the next local one, and there was no response. And then she called like so many of them, and they just didn't pick up because again, police in Sapporo, fucking useless. So she called like the main offices, and they're like, okay, we'll send some people over to check it out. Like 10 minutes later, like 2 patrol cars turn up, they get out, and they're like, me and my girlfriend are like this over the window,
nice,
like, peering out, looking at them, and they're like walking around shining torches in there and stuff. And they say something, and I don't understand it, and my girlfriend's like, ugh. like kind of like recoils in horror a little bit. I'm like, what did they say? And they're like, oh, they said they found a body. I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. So within like 5 minutes, about 20 police cars turn up, 5 ambulances, 10 fire trucks. They've blocked off the road, and I'm just there staring out my window, like, oh, this is a fun thing to be happening at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So they start like,
I
don't know, doing what they need to do, and because it's been there for like 2.5 months at this point, the body in the car, and it has very much turned to liquid. Like,
it's completely necrotized.
Just take
or whatever,
the body
right?
away. So they at one point, I remember they opened the door and shone their torch in there, and that was in the direction of where my window was. And I was looking out the window, and all of a sudden I just see Marmite with clothes. Like, it is. And I just got a glimpse of it, and I was like, well, that's the first dead body I've ever seen, even though it's not really a body anymore, it's just a puddle. It was a strange experience.
So yeah, it had like basically turned back into fucking protein at that point, right?
100%, like the local Koban is fucking on his stupid bike. He cycles around, looks at the car. Oh, that's dead body. I'll leave it to another Koban to deal with. It just cycles away.
Yeah.
Next Koban does the same thing. Cycles away.
And
then
the thing is, so there was like car park attendants there, and my girlfriend had said to them like, yo, there's a car there that's been there for way too long, and they were like, yeah, we'll deal with it. They didn't, obviously, just like complete ambivalence towards it. Dickheads. But then they phoned up like a week later, and they were like doing like a follow-up investigation or whatever. And I don't know, man, I don't think it was a suicide, because I think it would have been more cut and dry had it been a suicide. And the car did look a bit Yakuza, like blacked out windows and shit. So I don't know, man. It was a strange thing.
That's a little bit sus, right? When all the windows are blacked out.
That's sus, yeah.
And like it kind of ruined, like, everyone has, and rightly so for the most part. Like, Japan in terms of crime is a lot safer than, I guess, especially where me and you come from, Jordan. But then that kind of like ruins the image of it. I'm like, there was a dead body literally outside my window. Like, I can go look out my window now and see exactly where it was. Nice. And for 4 months or 5 months afterwards, there was still like a black stain on the floor from his bodily juices.
Yeah, listen, you can't scrub out bodily juices.
No,
they don't have the cleaning products in Japan. If you're in London, you can find some shit. I
was gonna say, in London and Birmingham, they're like, yeah, aisle 2, man. We got your dead body removal.
Right, you're good.
There.
You go and you're like, hey, listen, bro, this is a weird one. You're in Tesco or some shit, you're in Asda. You're like, bro, this is a weird one, man. There's a dead body outside my house for like a couple of weeks now. We've got a little black stain. It's like, mate, go me a couple of weeks. How long though? 2 weeks, 3? It's like, I think 3.5. Aisle 4, mate. Green bottle, mate.
So we've got the product for you.
They're trying to upsell you. You need
if you leave it like a week longer, that product for 4 weeks is actually a little bit cheaper, so maybe you should get that one instead.
Mate, wait a week and a half. We got you. It's buy one, get one free on the 5-week product. Doesn't work as well, but listen.
This is a lady at the end of the aisle selling samples like at Costco.
Like Costco.
There you go.
Like fucking Costco. It's like, listen, it's not a whole body per se. It's just a foot. Like, what do you got for me? It's like, mate, just take some of these sample kits.
She's got a cooler next to her. She pulls on the arm.
He pulls out the foot.
And it's like, I mean, you may as well get another bottle while you're here. You never know when the next foot's gonna turn up outside
exactly,
your door.
right.
Bro, honestly, just get the full tub. Like, seriously, just put it in the basement. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
This shit don't leak. Smack that. This shit don't leak. You're good, dude. Japan's kind of fucked.
But I mean, that's like what I've said before, right? Like, nothing in Japan changes until someone dies, and then all of a sudden 15 cop cars show up, right? Like, nothing happens until someone, kicks the bucket, and then people.
Or does weed?
Oh no!
It's why it's so the crime rate and stuff is so low, because nothing's really reported.
No,
and then when you
and that's the thing as well. Apparently, one of the things that happens is I live kind of, I think, like a 10-minute walk away from an area. It's like a nice area, and there's not much that happens there, but it's an area where a lot of Yakuza live. Ooh. And they say that so many of the things that are found around that area, they just list them as suicides, because they're like,
that's easier and less paperwork,
technically. And so it might be like quite a cynical point of view, but apparently it's legitimately something that happens, which is, that's fun. Murder listed as suicide for the sake of their numbers. Cool.
I mean,
So I have to ask though, because like we've lived in Tokyo for 4 years. Like, what's your experience been like living in Sapporo? Because I have to imagine that it's quite different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And the thing is, like, I am the biggest proponent of Hokkaido ever. I think
I've
it's
seen.
an incredible place, and like I will talk about it without pause forever because it's just like I've been to Tokyo, I think like 13 times or something. So
shit.
I'm well versed with it there, and from what I've been like. From my experiences, it's not a place that I could see myself ever living, just because it's the same reason as like with London. It's a giant city. Everyone seems very much like they're in a rush, and it's compared to Sapporo, people are nowhere near as friendly because everyone's in a rush as well.
Yeah.
So with Sapporo as well, it's like it's very much a big city. It's like the 5th largest in Japan still. It's Hokkaido's biggest city. So you still get like the big city vibes. Anything you need is here, but it's at a much more leisurely pace. People tend to be friendlier. We have the best food in Japan, according to me. It's like I think like in
like
terms
that.
of regional cuisine, Hokkaido is very much up there because of like some of the freshest seafood on earth, which you know it's unbelievable. And then you get things like Genghis Khan and soup curry with a home of miso ramen. So it's like so many, especially with miso ramen, like so many of like the country staples that's here. It originated here, so it's you can go anywhere within Hokkaido and there's going to be exceptional food. It feels, and coming from England as well, like I'm so spoiled because
There we go. Yeah.
yeah.
I can vouch
I
for
think,
fucking
like-
soup curry.
Yeah.
Soup curry
is fucking
smacks. It's so good.
Soup curry is my favorite food. It's just like with my curry sensibilities coming from Birmingham, where curry like there are curry houses on every corner, and then you know I come here and there's this new form of curry that comes with like a shit ton of the like fresh Japanese vegetables. Oh my god! Count me in.
Do you like soup curry?
The first time,
Yeah.
we confirming with his girlfriend. No? Yeah. Yeah, I was like green curry soup. Interesting. Thanks, dude.
Mate, but there are so many different variations of it as well. It depends where you go.
I have to imagine though, like I think that probably Hokkaido is very similar to where I grew up. Like
In the fact that it's very cold.
like one, it's cold. Two, I think the city like construction and size is the same because we have to deal with the same kind of weather. So I think like going because I've never been to Hokkaido, so I
been
assume
once.
that if I went to Hokkaido, I'd just be like, oh, I'm home, but everything's Japanese.
I made it.
So
Japan, Canada.
the thing is as well, like Sapporo is built on a grid system because it was built by a bunch of Americans.
Smart.
In terms of one of the
Yep,
first
that's
things in
like my
Sapporo
city.
was Hokkaido University, and they got a bunch of American professors in to teach them about agriculture because they had this massive bountiful land and they wanted to know what the best and most effective way to make produce on it was. So they got a bunch of Americans in at the university. They got a bunch of them to teach all of these Japanese students, and that's very much still present today. So that's why so many we have like yubari melon and like great potatoes and great dairy from Hokkaido and Hokkaido cheese. Because
I mean, you can't buy
it's
any
very
dairy
much-
product here that's not from Hokkaido. Like
Yeah.
everything is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm just there like, ha ha ha, you're getting it for so much more expensive.
Yeah, dude,
cheap
like
here.
good Hokkaido like butter is like
Money.
1,000 yen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hokkaido. But I mean, to be fair, Hokkaido butter here is it's, like expensive. I think comparing it to England, obviously. But Miho, how much is Hokkaido butter? Like 400 yen. Butter. 400 yen. Yeah, and then I mean the cheese here is quite expensive as well, but it's Hokkaido product, and that's you can go to so many places like just outside of the city, and they'll have their own like dairy farms and everything where you can go and eat everything, and it's so good.
I was gonna say that, like, I know, like, if you go to like more down south, they had these weird fruit stands where you'd be driving the road and it'll just be a farm and it'll be like, hey, we grew too many, I don't know, fucking peaches this year. Go on, fucking take them, take a bunch and
Yeah.
pay whatever you want in the box. And I love those things. And
And
I feel like Hokkaido has the same thing with like milk and butter and shit, just refrigerated,
and
set
it's
up by
like-
the road.
And even with things like uni and ikuda as well, like Miho's my girlfriend's dad or parents, they'll just get like a random shipment from somewhere, and it's just like a box of frozen uni. But they had in surplus, and it's like a box of uni that would otherwise cost what, like Sandman. Like,
like hundreds of dollars.
Yo, that's insane. I want people to send me boxes of expensive things to my house. That's fucking sick, dude.
Yeah,
Holy
that'd be
shit.
nice.
God damn it.
You know, so it's and like, I mean, I could talk all day about Hokkaido because I think that like you can kind of replicate for so many people who come to Japan and they have like the idea of what they want it to be, and obviously so many of the people who do come here is like, I'm not going to talk shit about them as much as I want to. So many of those people come here because they're like, I want the Blade Runner experience, I want the anime stuff.
Please talk shit about those people. We live for that.
This is all we do on this podcast.
Oh, talking shit about those people.
Oh, just talk mad shit.
Yeah.
Please make me a permanent feature where it's just Joe talk shit, because
Joe,
fuck
anytime.
me dead. Like, those people really bother me, but mostly because, like, you know, okay, being in Japan for 4 years has actually made me despise anime. I know I've got fucking Ghibli posters up here and like a Ghibli sleeve tattoo and stuff, but that's different. That's like, I'm talking about, you know, like the shonen anime and everything like that. That's just dog shit. But like, so those people come here with those expectations, and obviously they think the only place really I can get that is in Tokyo. And then there's the other side of people who are like, I want to see like Kinkakuji and everything like that, and they're like, I want to go to Kyoto. But people kind of leave Sapporo off of their itinerary because it's underrepresented a little bit. Like, people don't know as much about it, but people maybe know about the beer and the snow festival. And the beer, I don't really drink beer. People say it's good. The snow festival is pretty much hell on earth after the first 10 minutes. And actually, the snow festival should be on right now, but Corona. So like, it's underrepresented. People don't know much about it. But if people want those like Blade Runner moments, we have that. Susukino is like the second biggest entertainment district in Japan.
Been there.
So you have that. And then the way I always think about it is that Hokkaido and Sapporo especially is like distinctly Japanese, but it's almost got its own culture and identity because it's a new city. It was only founded in like 1873. Like, the football team that I support is as old as that in England, for goodness sake.
Shit.
Yeah,
so like,
right.
You know, we do have things like we have Hokkaido Shrine, so we have the sort of more archaic side of Japan that people want to see. But it's just, it feels so much more manageable because it is in this grid system where everything is a little bit easier to get to. Everything's easy to navigate. And you get like great food, you get Japanese culture, but it's like, it's a little bit different.
I feel like it all does tie into what Japan is. People tend to pick and choose the parts of Japan that they want to experience. And these are the people I generally hate with a burning passion, because you can't pick and choose the parts of Japan you want to take interest in and ignore the rest. Like,
some people try real fucking hard.
They fucking try. Like, some people are like, oh, Japan's shrines and anime and the streets are clean and sushi is great. And I'm like, motherfucker, go to Kabukicho. We saw a rat the size of a dog in Kabukicho. I
saw a dead body, for goodness sake.
You saw a fucking... Joe saw a fucking dead body! Listen, I hate those people who pick and choose parts of Japan they want to like.
Yeah, my biggest problem is the people who kind of put Japan on a pedestal as well. And I think for us having lived here for 4 years, Jordan 4 years, and obviously you studied here, David, I don't know how long.
Yeah, I've been here. Me and Jordan were in the same training
batch.
thing.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. And like, so the people who kind of glamorize what Japan is as well, and people very much idolize it as this bastion of cleanliness and technological progression, which hasn't been true for almost 40 years since a
motherfucker use fax machines.
Yeah, the fact that fax machines are still like a common staple in this country makes me like just every time someone tells me something like, oh man, Japan is so advanced, because I see some like really
Gundam,
like high-end like consumer bullshit, like, oh, they have like cool toilets. I'm like, yeah, that's the only fucking thing, because they're still using paper, for fuck's sake.
Motherfuckers still use paper.
So I had to go to the ward office yesterday, and it's one of the worst experiences ever.
Yes.
And it's even when they did like the Abe money thing, and it was like, compared to Korea, who did an online system and everyone got their money immediately, we got a fucking form that we had to fill out and then send back. It's like, it's the digital age. And
it's so funny.
Dude, I got that form, filled it out that week, sent it in. I didn't see that money for like 5 months.
Yep.
And I'm like, how, like, this is supposed to be relief money, right?
I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd be dead. I'd be long dead. I'd be that man in that fucking car leaking out the sides by the time I got that fucking money, right? Like, so what are you doing?
And that's the thing is, like, obviously people, from an outside perspective of what they see in Japan is, you know, it's through the media that they consume, and that's very much tailored towards their interests, so they only see those things. And then you live here and you do realize that there's a massive litany of problems on, like, you know, a daily level, on a social level, on like a hierarchy system, from just everything. Like, their work culture is
trash,
awful, and then you try and like those fucking people on Twitter who want to be Japanese and stuff. And we're speaking from experience. It's like, we're not here to degrade Japan for the sake of it. We're here to talk about the issues that it legitimately has. And then you get these white savior motherfuckers on Twitter who are like, if you don't like it, then just leave. And it's like, well, I am, bitch. So fuck off.
Nice. I feel like Twitter is Gaijin Twitter, or like Gaijin Twitter in Japan is like the worst Twitter. Like
so get Gaijin Twitter and K-pop Twitter. Here's the thing: there are tiers. Obviously, there are like the Nazis and everything, and all of those scum on earth. They're obviously at the bottom. But in terms of like the
mid-tier,
not aggressive, the mid-tier, it's Gaijin Twitter and K-pop Twitter right at the bottom.
It's right up there, dude. It's awful. I feel like because I do see your interacting with people on Twitter sometimes. Sometimes you interact with people I know, and I find it very entertaining. So. Like you interact.
In what way?
Oh, because you interacted with what's his face? Mayday-san a little while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, I know the exact thing you're talking about.
It was funny.
I said that old Japanese men are a disease.
Japanese old men are a disease.
Yeah. Tell me
where's the lie?
You can't.
Where's the lie? The logic is
there is no lie.
Honestly.
And it's like, So, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, people really pick and choose their battles to have about Japan as well. And that's where I take umbrage. So I was like, I'm not doing this.
No.
Do you feel like since you've got here to now, you've become like way more of a cynical person about just kind of everything?
100%. The problem is that Japan has made me more cynical in general, and that's mostly as like, so I will lead with a disclaimer that my Japanese is absolutely nowhere near where it should be, and that's for a litany of reasons. Like, language and me don't mix particularly well. I've also spent like all of my time doing art instead of learning. But like outside of that, even it's, you know, we've spent 4 years in a country that doesn't really ever want to accept us.
Yeah,
and that I think is enough to make anyone cynical. Like, it very much will, and that's one of the things is like. That was kind of the leading conversation I had with my girlfriend. Like, if we have children, I don't want them to grow up in Japan because I feel like they'd have a worse quality of life here than they would like somewhere in England, because they'd be living in a country where they have like, they are nationals of this country, but this country doesn't accept them as fully part of it.
That's my whole life, by the way, in London, in the UK.
Yeah.
So I get that. Yeah. I feel that. Like coming from like growing up in the UK, you realize that as a black person, you realize that you're part of the country, but you are not part of the country. If you know what I mean? Like you're very much sort of discarded by like a massive like swath of the population. So people like, oh, go back to your own country, and it's like, I'm literally from here. Like I pay more tax than you. What the fuck? So for me, coming to Japan, it's kind of the exact same feeling. Only in Japan, it's kind of less. If you know what I mean? But that's just my experience. Like, because no one in Japan is going like, oh, go back to England. I'm like, no.
Yeah, like I can't say I've ever had that. Someone's like, go back to your country. It's like,
different experiences.
Probably be like, go back to America, and I'm like, I'm not American.
I have that all the time. What? Oh, I told this one on a podcast before. A really drunk guy came up to me. I was walking home, so drunk student, and he said something, but I couldn't hear him. I was wearing headphones, so I ripped the headphones out, and I'm like, huh? Nani? And he says in Japanese, he's like, no, what did he say? He goes like, I love Donald Trump, or something like that. Like, I like Trump. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not American, dude. And there's this massive pause where he was like, my racism has failed. What do I do now? I'm just like, well, see ya. I gotta go home. I just kept walking. And he stood there for a minute like, what do I do now? This is all I
So
had.
I'm going to go and reread about my political views. But that's the thing, and it's like, even now, like I was walking around Sakino last weekend, and these really drunk Japanese guys were like, "Welcome to Sapporo," and I'm there like, mate, I was like, Japan literally isn't letting tourists in right
That's
now.
so dumb.
So clearly, I live here. Yeah,
It doesn't even cross their mind. It's like the questions they ask.
it really doesn't.
It doesn't. It's
No.
like, when, do you like Japanese sushi? And it's like, yeah, it's fine. Very good. When are you going home? It's like, that was quick.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
fuck.
That was like a really big jump in that conversation. We had it when it was like, I think it was Halloween 2019, and we were in an izakaya as a group, and there was a group of Japanese people next to us, and our group consisted of like, I don't know, like 7 gaijin and 2 or 3 Japanese people. And these people at the table next to us were constantly trying to like talk to us in English, and
Been
we were
there.
like, we were like, I was there like, leave me alone. I'm very quick to be like, hey, I don't want part in this conversation. I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
And at one point, our Japanese friend, who is very, very forthcoming, just turned around and he was there like, just because we have some foreigners in our group does not mean that you are welcome to join this group in any way.
Good
we
man.
do not want to speak to you. Please stay in your group and we will stay in our group. Thank you very much.
Oh.
And they were just like shell-shocked that this Japanese person said that to them.
Wait.
But he lived in England for a year and New Zealand for 4 years.
There we go.
So he was like, yeah, so he's very forthcoming. And then at the end of the night, as they were all leaving, every single person apologized to us when they were leaving.
Good. That guy introduced me to him. That's a friend I need to have. I love Japanese people who've lived abroad for a long time and come back to Japan and they take no shit.
Yeah. Because
Ryoma, if you're listening to this, there's your shout out, you stupid motherfucker. There you
Love
go.
him.
That.
Those are my
He's a
fucking
cool
people.
boy.
Holy fucking shit.
yeah, because they realize, like, I think like a lot of Japanese people who leave and come back realize that like there's this like veneer on Japan where you're supposed to act a certain way.
Yeah.
And they immediately realize that all of that is entirely bullshit.
Well, yeah.
Like
everything.
100%. So they're just like, I don't fucking care, because like you're so like caught up in that loop that there will be no repercussions for me being an asshole, and I'll get my way, so I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like a light bulb moment for them.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, so I don't have to act like this? Cool. My whole perspective has changed. And that's
Right.
a great thing.
I feel like people who go abroad and come back, you can navigate Japanese society a lot easier. You can sort of see the source code. You can see the writing on the wall.
Right. You've become Neo.
You're basically Neo.
Yeah.
Becoming, I feel like it's the same thing with like as a foreigner speaking enough Japanese to like get into a non-English teaching role. Same thing. You can Neo that shit because you have the
Cheat code.
ability that the older generation of foreigners who've come here who are now working the same job but they don't have the language ability. You have a step up on them, but at the same time, they're in a higher position than you, only for seniority. So you can do shit like, Jordan, can you translate this? No. Why don't you do it? You've lived here for 30 years. Why don't you translate this? Fuck off now. Like, that is some of the power you have. Jordan, I'm busy doing other things. Use Google. You fucking peasant. Like, stuff like that's pretty fun to do. So it's obviously in a more polite way. Later, maybe. when I
Please
have-
go fuck yourself.
There we go.
Yeah.
Kudasai.
Please go fuck yourself, you fucking peasant. Like, you have to add the niceties in there as well.
As long as you-
Moshiwake, go fuck yourself.
Moshiwake, go and fuck yourself, please. I think as long as you end the email with yoroshiku onegaishimasu, anything you say is fun.
Right, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's okay, yeah. It's like,
You
dear
can
sir or
still
madam.
honor their family, their children,
Yeah.
everything, but then just yoroshiku onegaishimasu, and they're like,
And that's fine, yeah.
damn it.
I worked out, it's a good one. I worked out in schools that yoroshiku onegaishimasu doesn't actually mean like, thank you, please. It just means like, this conversation is now over. Now you have to do the things I've asked you to do. So it tends to be the first one to say yoroshiku onegaishimasu wins the conversation. So you've got to be,
It's like a race.
you've got to get there first. Like, I once cut a teacher off half yoroshiku onegaishimasu. She was like, oh, hey, Jordan, I'm really sorry. I'm so busy today. Could you make like 50 copies of this? You're just like, I have a class in 5 minutes.
Congratulations.
You have to do it yourself. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. They fucking ran away. Didn't even have a class. just ran
Naruto
away.
run away down the corridor.
Like Zoidberg from Futurama. Fucking dashing away. Joe Sachs, you're going back to the UK. How are you feeling about going back to the UK?
It's like a really bittersweet thing for me. So, I mean, I really, for me, it just felt like Sapporo is kind of untenable on the job front as well, because even for people who can speak Japanese, it's like the only real avenue is teaching, and that's just not what I want to do long term. So I needed to get out of it eventually. And then, I mean, England in its current state
Trash fire,
is just like everything's still in lockdown. So I'm hoping that changes in 3 months or so. But as for like leaving Sapporo, that's going to be really difficult for me, because I genuinely love this city. Like, I love it so much, and so much of like my daily life is so much more enjoyable just for the fact that it's in this city. And even things like, I mean, I know the weather's not exactly permitting at the moment, but so much of my time is spent cycling around, and just Sapporo is perfect for it. And I can just go and cycle into the mountains. And I know that like I'm very cynical about Japan now, but there's still so much of it that I enjoy like looking at and seeing. And like Sapporo especially, I love all the mountains and lakes and like that kind of aspect of nature, and Hokkaido has that in abundance. So the fact that I'm gonna go back home and not be able to see that on a regular basis is super sad.
As a man who's done this before, I have done the whole live in Japan for a year, go back to the UK, and then be very depressed about being back in the UK, and then coming back to Japan again. It's a massive blow. You go from like all your daily conveniences and such. You go back to the UK and you're like, well, this fucking sucks. Can't go to the mountains. There's no mountains near here. It's dingy. It's rainy. There's crime. This fucking sucks. This is awful.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be like massive reverse culture shock for me as well.
It hits so hard.
One of the things that I really do value as well is this like feeling safe. Like, just I can go out at 1 o'clock in the morning through a dark park and I feel safe. And the only thing that's going to attack me is a fox or maybe a bear if I'm like 40 miles down the road, but that's not going to happen. Whereas I'll go home and I will absolutely lose all of that. Like that kind of safety just won't be there for me. And I feel like even in the minutiae of every day, that's going to kind of affect me. So yeah,
you're going to have to like deprogram yourself to weird Japanese things we do here as well. Like leaving your phone on the table when you go to like get stuff. You're going to be really aware of all your belongings again, which is a real fucking pain.
My girlfriend was walking with her phone in her back pocket and I was like, you can't do that in 3 months.
Nope.
Sticking out of her back pocket. I was like, no can do.
There is. Oh yeah, has your girlfriend lived in the UK before, or has she?
No, she lived in Australia for 1 year, Miho. Yeah, 1 year.
No way. Australia's pretty sick.
So when I first met her, she had like a really strong Aussie accent, but I'm breaking her down so she sounds a little bit English now.
Listen, that's the most important thing. That's the first thing to do. Get some tea in her. Give her a scone. She'll be fine. That's all you need.
Oh no, you say scone?
Yeah.
Jordan.
Do you say scone?
It's a scone.
I'll say scone.
Thing is, I used to say scone all the time, but then the issue is, everyone says scone, and every time I said scone, everyone's like, "Isn't it a scone?" And I'm like, "Fuck, you fucking fine." It's a fucking.
And now the reverse is happening, and I'm gonna bully you into saying scone.
Fuck.
It's scone.
Can't go anywhere about being bullied.
My mom says scone, and we don't let her live it down. We just bully her.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were going to say, my mum says scone and we don't let her live. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
I mean, when I move back, maybe I'll have less patience for her stupidity saying scone. So maybe she won't live.
Do you think you're going to end up coming back to Japan after a while, or too early to say?
Potentially. I mean, so her visa is for 2 years. So what happens after that, we don't know. And I don't know whether it's going to be like I do a master's or something and then get proficient in Japanese, which is a complete and a long shot and probably won't happen. But it will just be like when it comes closer to it, we'll weigh our options. And I think I'd be very sad if I didn't get another chance to live in Japan. And because this is kind of like a selfish thing as well for me. But this last year was going to be like, hey, I'm going to see more of Japan. Like, I'm going to travel as much as I can because maybe I won't get an opportunity in the future. And then Corona happened. So like, I've missed out on so many things and seeing as many things as I'd like to have done. Like, we had so many prospective trips. We had like a road trip around Kyushu in the pipeline, and like a trip to Hiroshima and everything. And now it's things that realistically I can't do without it costing an absolute bomb and me maybe needing like a month off from work, which is just difficult. So, yeah.
Dude, that sucks. I mean, Corona really was fucking awful. Worst timing.
Yeah, and like even with life in Sapporo, one of the best things here is all of the festivals, and there hasn't been any for over a year. I mean, the last one was the Snow Festival at this time last year, and it kind of sapped the joy out of everything. And thankfully, for the most part, I know that you guys are still in a state of emergency, right? Loosely.
Yes. Yeah.
So like, obviously, I think our daily lives have been much less affected than maybe other people in America and England and Canada and everything. So we've been able to kind of go about our things and still do things that we enjoy. We haven't been completely locked inside, but
that's true.
It's definitely sapped a lot of the enjoyment out of me being in a foreign culture and wanting to experience it. So I'm just sad that I've missed out on that opportunity. But I've done enough, and like I've got a trip to at the end of the month. We're going to Abashiri, which is just like there in Hokkaido.
That's
so for
fun.
it's where the drift ice is. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. That's like my bucket list thing. And then my other bucket list was to go and see all of the cranes in like the red-billed cranes in Kushiro, which is where my girlfriend's mom's from. But we haven't had the chance for that, so maybe in the future. I'll have to come back so I can do all of that shit.
I mean, the art, the designs and the art you make are crazy, and you're actually selling them at the moment. So I'm definitely sure that if that really picked up, you could just do that freelance and perhaps.
I really hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you about that specifically. So, like, how did you get started doing that? Like, did you go to school for it, or like what?
So, really quickly, can we hold that question just so I can quickly go to the bathroom and then pick up afterwards?
Sure.
Yes.
On the question. Perfect.
Pause
Thank
the
you very much.
recording.
I'll be like 2 seconds.
Okay, we're back
We spoke about Pokemon cards for a bit.
for a hot minute.
Go on, continue,
Yeah,
David.
but
Distracted.
I want to talk about your art, because that's actually kind of before I even knew that you knew Jordan. Is I had seen your art on Instagram and on, I think it was Twitter as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And I was kind of blown away, because it's I used to do graphic design myself, like a little bit, just kind of like dabbled here and there, but I love how just clean vector art is.
Yeah.
So seeing like really nicely done vector art is just,
It's good. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. It was actually a really strange thing. So I used to sketch and draw a little when I was younger, but it was nothing outside of just like a very small hobby. And then it really didn't continue past like high school for me, and it was never like my main hobby or anything like that. It was just something I dabbled in, and I didn't go to school for this. I didn't do a degree in it or anything like that. I did English at university, which was a complete fucking waste of time. But like it was.
amen to that.
I was gonna say.
I think it was about like just over 2 years ago or something, and I used to mess around a little bit in Photoshop and like Photoshop my friends' faces onto places where they shouldn't be inappropriately.
Nice.
Funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I wonder if I could draw in this. So I literally did a small portrait of my sister using only the base shapes that are found in Photoshop, and it came out pretty cool. And I was like, oh wow, that's all right, that's pretty cool. And then I started doing like little portraits of other people, and like I did like 3 or 4, and then I was like, maybe I could make a travel poster out of this, because I'd always loved travel posters, and it never even registered to me that maybe I could make them. So when I was like, gave myself a little bit of the skill set, I was like, maybe I should tackle it, and I made the Shinkansen Fuji poster, and I was
love
like,
that
oh
one. Yeah.
wow, shit. I was like, maybe I can do this, and like it was very simple, and I look back on it now, and I'm like, it's very much my first poster, and it's really nice to see it as a starting point. And I've since remade a Fuji poster, which I think is one of my best designs, and it just very much stemmed from there of like, I have a cursory understanding of this software. How can I use it to make what I want to make? And then I realized after that Photoshop had its limitations for what I wanted to do, and it wasn't necessarily suited for vector artwork. Sorry. So I was like, I'll try out Illustrator, and I tried it out, and I was like, fuck this. This is so confusing. I'm gonna do Photoshop.
Yep.
And I made another poster in Photoshop, and then I was like, okay, fuck this. I'm gonna try and learn Illustrator, because this just isn't working with what I want to do. So I threw myself into the deep end with Illustrator and just kind of self-taught myself, and thankfully it's quite an intuitive software, and like I learned how to do what I wanted to do and just continued making posters and trial and error of, you know, learning how to use it and how to create certain things and certain effects. And I still feel like that I'm such an amateur at this point as well, because there's simple things that I don't know how to do, and then complicated things that I do know how to do, because it's all just me putting myself in the software and trying to figure out how to use it. But it's been like it's something that I never expected to happen, and now I'm like thankfully somehow making money out of it on a side business. I also do like this year especially, I've kind of focused on taking commissions and like clients on for things like logo design and stuff like that. And it turns out logo designing is really fun. So it's just been such a strange process for me, and not something that I ever really expected to happen, especially not at the start. But it's like all consuming now. It's all I ever think about. And cycling and art is all I ever think about.
So like, where do you go for like your designs? Is it just kind of, you know, oh, I want to make this week and that's what you get, or are you specifically choosing things to?
That's a good question, actually. So it's because so much of what I do as well is like pop culture. So for travel posters, it's very much like what the stuff that I like. So like that's where all the Ghibli ones came from. It's just like I've always loved Ghibli movies, and I think I have like all of the art books like that Miyazaki made and everything, and I was like, I want to basically try and recreate the feeling of this movie, but in my own way. And that was very much where like those inspiration things came from. With other things, like I do a lot of like Disneyland stuff, and I do love Disneyland. I'm like a big sucker for that shit, and I love Disney as well. But my sister, especially my twin sister, who I actually run the business with, she's massively into it. So that very much started as like a kind of thing for her, where I was like, mate, and she's the one who kind of encouraged me to start selling it. Like I remember I made like, was it like a big Thunder Mountain poster or something, and I sent it to her, and I was like, what do you think? And she was like, I think people would buy this.
Yeah.
And I'm there like, fuck off. And then lo and behold, people actually did buy it, and they bought a lot of it as well. And so in a not so cynical way, a lot of the Disneyland stuff is because of my sister and because I like it, but a lot of it is also because that it's something that will sell. Like that is operating in the back of my mind now as a small business owner, is that like, what would people like and what do people want? So much of it is my own personal taste. A lot of it, some of it is what I think other people would like, and then like for my friends as well. Like I made an Evangelion poster last year because my friend likes Evangelion and he was in a tough spot, and I was like, I'll cheer him up and make him a poster. And then like recently my friend got me back into Pokemon because he loves Pokemon, so I made those posters for him, and doing those art has like made me like realize that it's really fun to make stuff for other people as well, within reason, because some people are like, make this, and I'm like, have you ever seen anything I've ever made before? That makes zero sense. So it's just like, and then just like finding inspiration in other things. Like I was walking through a station in Sapporo yesterday, and they had a JR poster, and it was just a blue sky and a train crossing, and I was like, that'd make a sick poster. So now I'm working on that as a poster. So it's like, even just finding out stuff outside is like is just good inspiration as well.
So you said that you started taking commissions, and I have to ask this because in another life I also took commissions for doing art. How many people have you come across who are like, hey, I have an idea for, you know, a poster or whatever, and then they pitch you this idea and you're like, this is fucking like, do you even know what kind of you'll be like, they say something like, I want you to make a poster, but can you make it 3D? It's like, no, the poster is flat. Like, what the fuck you talk, like that kind of, you know what I do?
Yeah.
But there are people who are like, so obviously so much of my art is centered on not the Ghibli poster so much, but so much of it is centered on like architecture and landscape. And then I get people who are there like, hey, can you do the like tiki room at Disneyland? I'm like, it's singing parrots. Like what about any poster that I've ever made would suggest that I'd make a poster of singing fucking parrots? So it's just like, I think, you know, I very much, again, like it goes back to this kind of complex where I struggle to call myself an artist or an illustrator or a designer because I still feel very limited in what I'm able to do. It's like I can only work when inspiration strikes. If someone goes, hey, do this, I can't do it. Like I don't have what I think to be a good enough idea for it. So it's like I much prefer taking logo designs because it's something that's a lot smaller scale and there's a lot more kind of, instead of building this massive scene of everything like intricate parts that are moving, it's a brand mark and it's a type mark, and that's much easier for me to sit and work out an idea, because so often if I'm trying to make a poster and I have to sit and work out the idea, it won't work. I need to have a really strong idea of what it's going to look like in my head before I make it. So it's like, yeah, it works a lot more with logos than it does with posters.
Yeah, I feel that. Must be difficult though. I feel like there must be loads of people who don't look at your body of work and just sort of go, hey, make this. But I feel like if those people are asking you to do things like, hey, I want to pay you to make this, you know, you can be like, you know, not really what I do, but, you know, thanks so much for the commission, you know, we'll see what we can do. But I feel like a lot of those people who just say, make this, they're not really offering anything, like, monetary wise. They're just like, I want to see this, so make it. It's like, mate.
And there is so much of that, and, like, there's always like this inner conflict where I'm like, I really appreciate these people taking enough interest in my art, but also fuck you, that's not what you do. Like, so and you get so much of it. I remember on like Reddit I posted what was it, I think I posted like the Mononoke print on Reddit.
Nice.
And someone, like, obviously it's a tongue-in-cheek comment from them, but they said, oh, I'll give you $20 to make a Nausicaa one. And I was like, that's just not something you say to someone like that, because it's like, even if it's tongue in cheek, you're still like devaluing someone's time and art for the sake of a comment. And I'm like, dude, come on, like,
don't be
like,
a
if you give
dickhead.
me like $2,000, I'll do it.
Honestly.
And then I did it. That's a Nausicaa one right there, like just above me.
I actually, your Nausicaa one's one of my favorite ones.
Say that again, sorry.
Your Nausicaa one is one of my favorite ones.
Oh, well, there's a horrible story about that as well. It's probably my favorite poster I've ever made, and the Illustrator file got corrupted, so I no longer have it, which is the most heartbreaking thing. And
so now you just have the proof?
Say that again, sorry.
You just have the proof, like the final, like...
Yeah, so I've got like a lossless PNG file, which isn't bad, which is how I could, like, because I designed it as an A4 poster and then I could blow it up with the PNG and stuff, but I don't have an editable Illustrator file, and I used like recovery software to find it, and I found it, located it, and it wouldn't recover because it was corrupted, and
sucks.
It sucked, but like, thankfully it's literally only the Nausicaa poster, which it sucks because it really is one of my favorites. Like, it's funny as well because I tried to make that poster like 4 or 5 times, and I sat in front of it and I could not do it. It just wouldn't work. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try. And then I did it in 2 hours, which is like my record time for a poster.
Yes, I've had this happen to me as well.
Yep.
I used to do like 3D animation, and there'd be times where I'd be banging my head against this anime. I'm like, this looks like shit. It's not working. And then it'd be like 5 a.m. one day, and I'm just like, you know what, I'll fire up this program, and then by like 6 I'm like, oh, I'm done, and this looks fucking awesome. Like, how the fuck did that happen? No.
Yeah. For me, so much of it feels like luck. Not luck, but like, it's just the luck of the draw, because sometimes I will spend hours and hours on a poster and it'll come out and I'll be like, you know what, I'm happy enough to put it out there, but I'm not super happy with the actual outcome. And then, like, the other day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a Lawson sign, but make it look like fucking Pokemon. And I did it. And it's, like, super simple, but it looks really cool. It's one of my favorite things I've ever made, just because of... It's simple, but really effective. And then, like, it kind of blew up a little bit on Twitter, and I'm just like, there's absolutely no consistency. And that's the most frustrating part for me, is that, like, I can't find the consistency to just be able to pump things out that I like regularly that are effective. And man, the life of someone who makes art is fucking frustrating 90% of the time.
I feel like the way you're going now, it does make sense though. You sort of create the things you're interested in, and if you hit a chord of sort of the internet, I should say, then, you know, it's all good and it's fine. But if you make something you're interested in, it doesn't really do as well, I guess, online as other things you made, that's fine as well, because when it comes down to it, as long as you're interested in it, you can keep sort of pumping it out, so to speak.
That is 100% the thing that I've been wrestling with as well lately. It's like it's well documented how like terrible the algorithm is on
Yes.
Instagram. And I was there like, I need to stop making things for the algorithm. I need to stop being concerned about posting something regularly enough for like people to take notice. And I need to start making things that I'm just happy with and things that are for me or for other people as well, because obviously that's like a great source of happiness or joy or whatever. But it's just like I just need to there is such a focus on social media, and the problem is that running like a small business, social media definitely plays a part and really helps with sales, but
Right.
there's a way that you can kind of like, I'll leave with the business, I'll leave all of the social media stuff to my sister because she's really good with that stuff, and I'm just like, just let me do the art and that's all I need to do. And if she, you know, she comes to me and she suggests products, and thankfully they're not usually intricate prints that she knows I'm not going to do. Like the one person who does suggest me to do things is the person who knows like my back catalogue and what I can and can't do. So thankfully the one person I listen to is the one person who understands as well.
That's good. Social media is very important, especially now for like small businesses. And I feel like when you do find yourself being caught up too much in that algorithm, like for Instagram, it's like, I gotta post every day. For Twitter, it's like, need like a hit tweet or something. But if you keep, especially YouTube as well has a whole other algorithm for itself. But if you just keep producing the content, eventually, like people take notice and they go, oh, I like this, and they all start flocking in. Like, take my Instagram for example. Like I post like very sporadically, and then out of nowhere, I'll get like, you'll be like, oh, I wake up, oh, you have 10 new followers. I'm like, why? What the fuck have I done? It's like, oh, some random person has tweeted something connected to something I had tweeted, and they've all gone from that to my Instagram, and now I'm like, this is fucking stressful. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, like that's the problem I found with doing the social media for this podcast is that it's just tiring, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to. I understand now. I never understood before why companies would hire like a social media person. I'm like,
this is why.
I'm like, what is that person for? But like now it's like, I don't have the time to make a post, to, you know, post a story, to make a video, to do it, and then do it every single fucking day. Maybe sometimes even twice a day, 3 times a day, right? Like it's too much shit.
This is why, like, especially so at my company currently, that we don't have a social media person. Not really. Well, we have someone who does it, but like they've not really given her the title. They've sort of gone, oh, you're young, you can do it.
So you do it.
You understand.
You're in touch with the kids.
Yeah, you're in touch with the young folk. You do social media, and they don't understand like how important having a social media manager is. And I feel like a lot of companies in Japan don't get it. Like they just don't understand it. So like they'll underpay them, or they won't really understand like how much time it actually takes to do these things.
Right.
So I can't, like, it's too much. Running like my own social media is too much. Like, it's tiring, dude.
And that's the thing as well. It's not something where it's like, hey, put out, you know, you need to hit this quota as well. It's like, oh, you need to hit that quota, but also produce good content, like in this short form format.
Yep.
So it's like you can't just put out a tweet for the sake of it. It has to have purpose, and it has to like. In some cases, it has to have like the necessary video or graphic to go with it, which also needs to be well produced and well designed. And it is just such a, like, you know, for especially running a small, running a small business where it's just 2 people is such a difficult thing to navigate, because there's so many things that you need to do and not enough people to do it. And I mean, like you said with your company, that Japan just hasn't really caught up in general either, has it, with social media stuff?
Japan's always like 3 steps behind. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's so stupid. But I feel like eventually it's gonna change. Like I feel like when all the old fogies die out and retire, there'll be some.
It's gonna happen soon, man. Fingers crossed.
Listen,
let's hope so.
I wake up every morning like, is it today?
Have they died yet?
Has the rapture come?
It's like in Austin Powers when it's like, why won't you die? Like, it's the same with all of the old people in Japan. It's like, you're like 102 years old. You're walking at a 90-degree angle across the street. Come on, man. Like, just...
All it's going to take is just one bad batch of natto, and then all of them will die.
It's true, yeah. We're waiting for that one bad... Because only they eat the natto. Yeah. No one else does.
I'm not eating it. Are you?
I ain't eating it.
How about you, Scott? You eating it? Nope.
No one...
There you go.
No one out here touching that natto, let me tell you. And that's
not even with a shit ton of mustard in it. Can't do it. Love mustard.
You can't convince me.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't trick me. One of my Japanese friends was like, "Oh, Jordan, do you know if you mix natto with rice, it's like more palatable?" And I'm like, "You almost got me." But you said more palatable. That means disgusting. Don't try. This is my first language.
Good. Yeah.
You can't trick me with that.
And it's like my friends are vegan as well, so obviously natto is a good option for vegan. He's there like, I'd rather starve. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that.
Right.
He's just in Japan eating like rice.
Yeah.
Like furikake.
Can't even have furikake because that might have meat in it.
Can't even have furi. How do you
You
even?
can't. Furikake's got like because usually it has like katsuo in it, right?
Yeah.
So you
That's
can't
right.
have
Yeah. That's why it's
furikake.
delicious.
Yep.
Holy shit, man! Rip to the vegans in
You can have
Japan.
kombu.
Kombu. You can have kombu.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Tofu.
Yep. That's about it.
Although, to be fair, like, because that's part of it. Like with Tokyo, down there's so many like vegan options for restaurants. Sapporo is catching up, but it's
Yep.
not ideal. Like we've got a few, but Tokyo is just like popping with that shit.
They realize it's like new and hip. That's why. So
Yeah.
the restaurants are like I've seen like vegan only restaurants or like
Yeah. Recently, I've seen that too. Is vegan only restaurants.
yeah.
It's replacing tapioca as the new trend. See your tapioca.
I'm okay to see that
Fuck
go.
out of it.
Yo, that shit can die out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm
But
good.
the thing
vegan.
that obviously like that shit came to Sapporo late as well. So like a year and a half ago or something, so many tapioca cafes just started popping up everywhere, like absolutely bloody everywhere.
shit.
And now because of Corona, they're all gone. They're all just
Nice.
and like I wouldn't wish any business to go to have to shut up shop, but fuck off tapioca. You've had your time.
Yep.
I always do feel really bad for the restaurants who opened just when Corona started.
March 1st.
March fucking 1st. You open your new
Because
little...
that's a lot of the time when rents like when rent resets or whatever, like they do all
Yep.
the renewals in like
Yep.
early springtime as well.
Yep.
So that was it was just the worst timing for it.
Dude, awful. Fucking annoying. I have no
Yeah.
more questions. I'm fucking satisfied.
I do have questions.
Oh, go for
though.
it.
Actually, someone did send in a question to the podcast. I'm not gonna do the music because I'm fucking lazy. But the question is, like, I guess you kind of have answered this, Joe. The question was, like, what is your favorite piece that you've worked on? And I guess it's the Nausicaa one.
For any listeners who like have no visual reference for what this is, go to my Instagram at Hokkaido Kaku and you can just fucking scroll through and see it.
We'll put it in
But,
the show notes.
I
You'll
think-
find it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Like probably Nausicaa is one of them, because I don't know, it was just one of those things where like inspiration struck and it just worked immediately. And another one is so back in like March 2019 maybe, I did a set of 3 Disneyland posters with the Tower of Terror, Big Thunder Mountain, and Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
And then at the end of last year, I was like, I don't like them anymore. Like, I want to do them better, basically. So I redid them, and I did the Tower of Terror one that I did especially is just like such a marked improvement, and for me, it's like a very good visual representation of the progression that I've made. So that's always really nice to see, and I absolutely love the final product of it because I think it's super effective. It's super simple, but it really does exactly what I wanted it to do. And then even like I did a Goldenrod City poster.
Yes,
from,
I've seen that one too.
I
Yes.
love
Gen
that
2
I like
one.
that one as well.
and that was very much like so obviously living in Japan, I want to take a bit more inspiration because for me I just love how streets look here. Like just I love the overcrowded, like the architecture of like, you know, it does look a little bit cyberpunk and like with all the air conditioners down the side of it and everything.
Right,
and
yeah,
Very much.
the difference between having like a bright red game center and then you've got like a ginger next to it or something in the city, like that's super cool. So I took a lot of inspiration with that with Goldenrod, and it was really fun. It was the first time where it was almost like my own version of concept art. Like I didn't really have a strong visual reference for everything that I wanted to include in it, so I had to build it from the ground up. So I was like, you know, I was looking at things like Tokyo and Osaka because Gen 2 is basically based on Kansai.
Yeah.
So I was looking at like how the buildings work there, and then I was like, oh, it has a radio tower as well. So like, what could I use for that? And I was like, maybe something like the Skytree crossed with like the Seoul radio tower. So it's just like super fun building up
good.
all of the individual components to put it together, and then throwing in like sprinkling in like Furikake, all of the little Pokemon Easter eggs in there. Like that was super fun to work on. So I really love that Goldenrod City one as well.
So like how long, like I guess it depends on which thing you're working on, but like typically how long do you spend on one I guess like poster average?
So at the start it was a lot longer, and like obviously, so the thing that I always said was that the original Tower of Terror poster took me almost 30 hours to make, and I was like, that is a very long time. And then after that, I got like consistently better. So like even these Ghibli ones that are above me now, they must have taken about 3 to 6 hours per poster, which was a super nice length of time for me. And so I got like consistently faster, and usually I time it from when I actually physically start drawing it in program to when I've finished. But then it came like that Goldenrod City poster that took a long ass time, because it was like I was drawing like a building a day, and each building took about 5 hours.
Wow.
And then just like messing around with how I wanted things to look. And then it was quite handy because I had a trip to Tokyo in the meantime, so I was like, oh cool, I can go and take some reference photos and like get some ideas and inspiration for it. And then I came back, and that one took about 30 hours, but I'd say on average, yeah, it's a long time. On average, probably anywhere between 5 and 15 hours is usually how long it takes. And like a lot of it is me just kind of staring blankly at the screen, hoping that something will happen.
Should I put a circle here? Should I put a square here?
Yo, I know that feeling. Holy shit.
Or like even looking at it and being like, well, that asset in the poster will take a long time, so I'll go and do something easier now. And then it's like, but I really needed the original thing to make that thing work.
I do that.
Is it looking okay?
I've definitely had that too, like with designing our t-shirt.
Yeah.
Where I've just like sat in Photoshop looking at the design and just like I'm clicking on and off layers to like see which ones I like better. I'm like, is this better?
Oh my god.
Is this better? No.
That is the story of my life. Even with like, because like so much of the basis of my work is like the background color of it, like what's the predominant color of it. And I'm just there, like I've got like 3 different ones on top of each other, and I'm just clicking off, like hiding each layer, being like, which one do I prefer? And it's just, it is a pain. It's like, and I did a tweet the other day where it's like, where I get complete decision paralysis, where I'm like, I've got like, I know everything that I want to include in the poster, but I can't think of the exact composition that I want, or like I keep going back and forth between ideas, and I'm like, if I start it and then I want to change it midway through, that's a lot of work. So it's like so much of the time is spent staring at a blank artboard at the start as well, which is, oh man, that's a lot.
So do you have people in like I guess that you go to ask like, what do you think about this? Because I find that like most of the time, like I'll ask them like, oh, what do you think of this design? And the answer I always get is, looks good. And it's like, that tells me fucking nothing.
Yep.
like give me some feedback.
As a man,
it's like I am. Even when I send my sister designs now, I'm like, maybe we could turn this into a patch or something. And she's there like, oh, I really like it. And they're like, yeah, but the last thing that you said, I love it. And I'll read into their responses so much. I'm like, so with that last patch, she said, oh man, I love it so much. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And I showed you the most recent thing, and you're like, yeah, it's cute. And I'm like,
but you don't love it.
Right, yeah.
But you don't love it. So I'm like, and I'll read into their responses and stuff, and like, but it is very much, I'm kind of scared of feedback as well. I'm scared that I'm going to show someone something and they're going to be like, oh, I'm not a big fan. But realistically, that's what I need.
Right.
So like,
you need someone to be like, this is shit, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I need the hard truthers instead of like people just like effusively speaking about what I've done. Because, and that's the thing is like, I'm still such an amateur at it. Like I'm still, compared to so many other people, I'm super new at it. And my other thing is that like for my art style, there aren't really, because it's vector art, but it's like detailed vector art. And so when I'm like, there was something I wanted to do the other day where I wanted to draw the Northern Lights. Wow. And I was like, how the fuck would I even go about doing that? So like I start messing about and I'm trying to do it, and then I'm like, I wonder if there are any tutorials online on how to do it in this particular way. And because it's a particular way, there is no help, or it's like, here's how to paint the Northern Lights. I'm like, I'm using shapes on a computer. I don't have a fucking paintbrush. Or it's like with digital art when people use like individual brushes and stuff. I'm like, no, everything that I do is a flat shape with a flat color or a gradient.
Right.
So like it's like so much of it has been me trying to figure out how to do certain things as well. I feel like I'm writing my own rule book a little bit, which I think is a good thing. Like that stands out as me very much having a distinctive style, which is a good thing, but it also makes things a lot more difficult for me too.
Indeed. Well, that's good though.
Yeah.
I'd rather search something and like find nothing than search something and find 1,000 results of everyone doing the same thing.
Right. Then you get like
so
you get
many
like design by
suggestions.
committee, right? You get the Bob Ross where everyone paints the same mountain with the tree in the left, and then
Yeah.
it looks great, but
I get so many things and it's like, oh, you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, but 400 other people have done it before me. So what's the point? I can't offer anything new to it. And that's why when people are like, oh, you should make this poster, and I'm there like, yeah, but I can't think of like something that's an original or distinct idea for it. So there's no point. Go and look at someone else's work who's already done that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it very much is about finding like that little niche in the market that's just hidden behind everything else. Or in some cases, finding like something that no one has actually ever done before. Like Ghibli travel posters are completely few and far between because people don't necessarily think that those two styles are particularly congruent with each other, because they think of like the watercolor nature of what Ghibli movies look like, and then they do like character portraits and everything like that. So I was there like, maybe I can offer something new to this. And that goes again with like the Pokemon one that I did, because I think it was like last year or something, the Pokemon store actually released their own set of travel posters for each individual Pokemon region.
Bastards.
And I did not like them at all. I didn't like how they looked. So I was there like, maybe I can do something like, not necessarily better, but something that I prefer. And that's where like that's what a lot of it comes down to as well.
That's good though. I feel like no matter what you're doing, this goes out to the listeners as well, but I feel like you really do have to find a niche all of your own, and it's something everyone 100%. Says, oh, you gotta find your own way, and it's but it's hard.
Yeah.
So people just don't.
It really is. And like, I won't deny that it's hard, because I kind of accidentally fell into it, where I was like, I like travel posters. Oh wait, people aren't really doing this that much for things. So like, a lot of the patches that I make as well for like Disneyland and Disney movies, people aren't doing travel patches because they don't give a shit about the locations. Usually they give a shit about the characters.
Yeah,
but if I can put the focus and like the lens on something else, it actually gives it like interesting perspective. And like that's what I always say, that I make better Disney merch than Disney do, because I genuinely believe that, because I think that the patches that I make are really cool, and people don't do it because they focus. It's almost like it's a product they didn't know they wanted, because they were so focused on everything else that Disney has.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I think too about like I always see like video game merchandise too, and it's always just this like horribly gaudy, like self-referential shit. The video game merchandise I want is that if some normie looks at it, they go, "Hey, that's cool." Yeah. But they don't. But they have no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
I always want it to be like, if I make something, I always want it to be something that someone would put on their wall. Like that's kind of like the benchmark that I set for myself. So it's like, I wanna, or like even with t-shirts or patches or stickers or anything like that, I don't want it to be in your face about what it is. I want it to be like a little bit like very obvious what it is, but I want it to be a little bit more subtle than fucking, I don't know, what other people make. So I mean, I've been trying to work on like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild posters for ages, and I just can't do it. But because so much of like the artwork from that is like, I'm not denying they're incredible artists when people make fan art, but it's just not what I want to see. Like, I want to see Hyrule as a really nice travel poster that's kind of good shit. So yeah, it's just, thankfully I found my niche, and I'm very, very happy that I have.
And you're making good stuff, honestly. Like, everyone who's listening should check him out. Like,
for sure.
The art is fantastic, honestly. It's some stuff that I would definitely want hanging on my fucking wall.
Honestly, yeah, like, because I think I've talked to Chihiro about this. I'm like, my walls are kind of bare. I need something to put on.
Like,
not specifically in this room, but in the other one.
Yeah, you were saying, yes.
I need something to put there, so.
We'll peruse his Instagram after the podcast and see what's good.
Yeah.
Start buying up his stock.
my sister unfortunately runs a small business out of her bedroom, so she's like, "Oh, we've only got A4 prints," and I'm like, "Well, I want bigger because I think people will buy them." And she's like, "Yeah, I've literally got no space to put them, Joe. So fuck off." And I'm like, I'm like, go ask someone for a favor. Just leave a bunch of posters in their room.
Spend the money that you're getting from the A4 prints on like a locker.
Yeah, it's
Store it on there.
I'd buy a big old poster.
Yeah, I have a frame in here that is just, it's not being used, but it's bigger than A4. So
we'll make this happen.
I mean, I'm very sad about these. So because when I move, I'm not going to take them with me. I'll probably just get them reprinted in England or something. But I had like my friends fighting over them, so I had to be like, okay. So I had 2 friends, and I was like, okay, you 2 can have them. So I had to be like, okay, on the count of 3, which one is your favorite? And then they got to keep that, and then had to fight over which other 2s they wanted as well. So
oh, that's so good. Janken Deathmatch is the only way to decide anything in Japan.
100%. I've never seen more dramatic janken in my life.
Work with some elementary school kids, dude. These guys get fucking excited over who gets the last fucking Agepan or some
it
shit.
doesn't matter. It could literally be anything.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, literally anything, dude. Fucking.
Or there was that AKB48 one where they had to do like the live janken to see who got the #1 spot in the group or something. Have you ever seen that video?
The fuck?
That's some
It's like
Japanese bullshit. Yeah.
It was like them two with it was like televised, and it was like aggressive janken, and then the loser just burst into tears, and I was like, this is the shit that I'll live for.
That's so funny. You crying over this shit? Fucking get out of here, dude. Some bullshit. Yeah. That's great. What a good talk. You're very fun to talk to. Very, very happy about this. It was grand.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Dude, do you have any shout outs? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, plug it away.
Plug away, my dude.
People have been telling me to shout outs. I'm gonna be a dickhead and just censor everything on myself instead. But no, it's just Twitter and Instagram really. Just like that's just if anyone has like any interest in vector art or travel art or pop culture art or anything like that, then those are the best places to find me. And I try to update regularly enough, but I've got I've got a back catalogue of things, and I'm sure that people can find stuff that they like on there. So. If people could find that, drop a comment, tell me which poster you hate, which poster you like. I need to be held accountable. So
you heard him.
That'd be great.
We'll put it all in the show notes, right? All right, we'll have his Twitter and his Instagram down in the show notes, guys. So give him a follow. It was a absolute fucking pleasure, dude. I'll see you when I'm back in the UK, then I guess.
Yeah. Oh, you need to get your butt up to Sapporo, man. You really do.
I wanted to go
come and eat some soup curry
ages ago, and then we were meant to go, and then Corona hit.
Corona just fucked everything up.
Fuck, you know.
Yeah, if you can find the time before May, you should definitely make the pilgrimage, because I'd be happy to show you around as well.
We can find some before May.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. We're going. Yeah, dude. Fucking hell yeah.
I went to Tokyo in December. If I can go to Tokyo, you guys can come up here. So like,
fair dues. We'll find some cheap ass flights and come up.
Yeah. Yeah, just play the gaijin card. Be like, I didn't know. I wasn't meant to.
Kurowa.
They're selling JR East passes.
Clearly
they want to
travel.
travel.
Back on sale in April, so come on, it's fair game. And here's the thing, Hokkaido, we're strong up here.
Yeah,
we got that northern spirit, so we can hopefully handle it.
Well, that soup curry keeping them fucking healthy, boy. That's all they need.
Soup curry, miso ramen. It flows through our veins.
I do want some miso ramen, dude. Guys, love you and leave you. Until next time. Bye.